You're listening to Next Gen Conservative Radio.
You have entered the analysis zone, a place where political correctness is non-existent. Critical thinking is required and conservative common sense reigns supreme. This is the Whitfield analysis, and now, here is your host, Sam Whitfield.
We may have lost the battle, folks, but we have not lost the war. Morning glory and evening grace. Sam Whitfield here, broadcasting live at Next Gen Conservative Studios via Blog Talk Radio. This is the Whitfield analysis. Folks, as I said, we may have lost the battle, but we have not lost the war. Tuesday's results were very disappointing indeed. They were excruciatingly painful to watch. I was depressed for a couple days. But, as every conservative was, but I got over my depression. I'm ready to fight. Folks, we need to stand together and defend conservative values, because if we don't, then we will have lost this war. This is not the end of the world because Obama is president, but we need, like I said, to stand together with our values. And folks, we have come up with some plans here at Next Gen Conservative to keep on fighting for the next 4 years. We're going to give them hell, and we're going to give them lots of it. One of my fellow hosts, Gregory Blackie, joined me tonight on air. Greg came to Next Gen Conservative about 2 or 3 weeks ago as a show host. He's a good friend of mine from the highschoolconservative.com. And he and I have also founded another organization along with Kyle Patrick Rogers. And the three of us believe that this organization is just going to kick ass and take names. We're excited for it. I am proud to present my fellow show host, Gregory Blackie, who hosts Black Eye Radio every Wednesday night here on Next Gen Conservative Radio by Blog Talk Radio. And Greg, you're on the air, so welcome to the Whitfield analysis. How are you doing, sir?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, despite the election results. Now, Greg, you and I came up with this idea together, but it was more your idea than mine. So would you mind talking a little bit about what your plans for the next 4 years are going to be and what we've started?
Well, currently we've started a more, can be described as like a new type of our generation's media. Well, on Young Conservative TV, we have people who write articles, people who host TV shows, radio shows, and we're accepting more writers. But we plan to, in the next 4 years, to end this madness, if I may say, this madness in the left-wing media and get out the truth, expose their falsehood, and overall get out the true conservative views, because I think a lot of people have the wrong views of what a conservative is because of the left-wing media.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that Next Gen Conservative has done for the last 4 years. We're essentially doing the same thing over at Next Gen Conservative. In fact, we're partners with each other now, folks, which I'm really excited about. Now, Greg, would you mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself and how you came on?
Yeah. I'm currently 14 and I'm a freshman in high school. But probably my interest in politics began a few years ago at the end of 5th grade, entering 6th grade, when I was around 10, 11, when the 2008 election began. And I watched that closely, but it didn't really take off until this last year when I became a writer for the High School Conservative, where I met Sam. And together we talked a lot and became good friends. And that's when I had the idea of launching Young Conservative TV with him. And so now we have that website, and we're partnered with Next Gen Conservative.
I think this organization is going to take off in the next year. Next Gen Conservative really took off when it started in New Year's. Now, folks, you may have seen the announcement today that I posted on my Twitter feed. You can follow me over at on Twitter over at SamW_NGC. I have recently started a campaign today. In fact, it's today. To I need you to donate money in order to get Next Gen Conservative a domain. We're asking for funds to help fund NGC because we've done this program for free for so many years now, but we need some sort of financial backing to make this to continue to make this show successful and get an official website and whatnot. However, Young Conservative TV, with it being our newest organization, we are also asking for donations over there. And I would ask that be your top priority for the next 2 days. We're really trying to launch that website and get it up and running. Promote the Young Conservative TV to all your friends, all your family. The conservative youth movement is not going away, folks. And what better way to shove it back in the left's face than to launch another organization just a week after the presidential election. In fact, the website's up to date now, right, Greg?
It is.
So, anyway, so Greg and I are going to be hanging around here. We've got another caller here, which I'd like to bring into the conversation, if that's alright with you, Greg. Area code 817. You're on the air now with Sam Whitfield and Gregory Blackie. Welcome to the Whitfield Analysis.
Hi, I'm Braxton Clark. I've just joined Gregory on writing for Young Conservative TV.
Well, welcome to the program, Braxton. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. In fact, I am feeling more energized now about the passions I have for conservatism. You know, we lost a single battle, but I've really come to a perspective that it's all just a long-term goal we should be focusing on. And as long as we can prevent our country from going downhill during these next 4 years, and the 4 years after that, when we have a Republican president, then we can push ourselves back up again.
Yeah. I really, this is kind of a cheesy quote, I'll admit, but if any of you have seen The Dark Knight Rises, the listeners and both of you guys, you know that there's that one quote, why do we fall? So we can pick ourselves up. And we've fallen, folks, but we're going to get back up. So I want to ask you both questions. What do you guys think is the most important thing to focus on in the next 4 years for conservatism?
Well, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I think the most important thing to focus on is this causing a roadblock for any Obama administration plans. I think one of my favorite quotes is from a Turkish general. He said, "The problem with having the Americans as your allies is you never know when they're going to turn around and stab themselves in the back." That's precisely what happens to us. We have to understand that we make dumb mistakes. We've made a mistake. Now we just have to work on preventing that mistake from becoming a bigger problem. That we're ready the next 4 years in order to reverse President Obama's last 4 years when he passed Obamacare. Hopefully that will still be an option to reverse socialized medicine, because we definitely don't want to go down that path. And I think really the role of any American, when we've reached a point of government where it's corrupted as ours is to just form a roadblock. Be a voice for specifically us, the conservative youth, for us to be a voice for other young Americans and say, hey, we're going to inherit all of these problems and all of this mess that you're causing. It said, blessed are the youth, for they shall inherit the national debt. And that's exactly what's going on. We're going to inherit the debt that's being racked up today. And it's our job to make a voice and let everyone know that we're displeased with that.
I want to ask Greg, any comments adding on to that?
He put it pretty well. I might add that, I mean, I don't like to put it like this, but based off of the last 4 years, it is likely that in the next 4 years we will fail. And, you know, sometimes it takes something really bad to happen for something really good to come back strong. So I believe that by this happening, conservatism might come back in its fullest.
Yeah. Why? Now I have to ask you this too. I know that a whole bunch of talk show hosts have been putting this out there, and people listening to talk radio are probably sick of this. But it must be brought up anyway. Why do you think that the conservatives lost, that Mitt Romney lost the election?
I think Braxton knows a lot about this, but yeah, so Braxton, would you like to say something?
Sure, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. If you look at the voter turnout for this election, Obama got 10 million less votes than he did in 2008. But what was more surprising is Romney got 3 million less votes than McCain did in 2008. And when I first saw those numbers, I was like, wow, that's absolutely abysmal. McCain had one of the worst campaigns we've seen in decades, and Romney got less votes from him. But if you look at the overall voter turnout, it's down from 2008. That means less people turned out to vote. They didn't feel like voting. Either it was because they didn't feel like their vote would be counted because they're in Democratic states, or they were just disgusted with the way that American politics are heading down in the path we're on right now. I think it's really a combination of that and just there was no energy in the American voter. And I think the way we have to turn that around is this next generation, us, are going to be next election's voters. I'm going to vote. Gregory, you're going to vote, right? You're going to be old enough?
Yeah.
Yep. And Sam, did you vote in this election?
No, I turned 18 in January, so I just barely missed this election by like a couple months. But I can guarantee you, I'll be 21 next election, and I can guarantee you I'll be voting, and I won't be voting drunk either, because I'm pretty sure that some people in this election did vote drunk.
Right. So I think our job as American youth is to make sure that our generation cares about voting. I think what this election showed, and the low voter turnout in this election, showed that people really don't care about voting anymore, and they don't take their vote to heart. Voting is a privilege we as Americans have, and we shouldn't be taking it for granted. I think it's our job to display the impact of the vote. And I think these next 4 years, the second term of President Obama, will wake up American people even more to saying, wow, maybe I should have voted last election, or maybe I should do more to tell my friends to vote. So I think it was just really people who saw no hope in America anymore. And I think as this next generation, we need to show that there is hope, and we need to get people to vote.
I couldn't say it better. Greg, you just messaged me and said that you need to go.
Yes, I do.
Alright, well, Greg, I'm looking forward to continuing the launch of Young Conservative TV with you. And we can find it at youngconservativetv.com, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Alright, are you guys in any more need of money? I'm assuming you are.
Yes, we will always need some money because I can't give any more money out of my pocket because my pocket's pretty empty right now.
Same
and
here.
We got a lot more fees coming.
Yeah. So thanks for joining me, Greg. Braxton, I have a couple more things I'd like to pick your brain at. But Greg, I'll see you later, and your show is on Wednesday nights at 5. What time?
5:30 Central Time.
Alright, so tune in for my friend Gregory Blackie. He's hosting his show on Next Gen Conservative as well. Alright, thanks, Greg.
No problem.
And so, Braxton, it's just you and I now, so, just a couple other things. So, you and I haven't gotten to know each other as well, but would you mind, sharing with the audience and I how you got involved in politics?
Sure. I've grown up in a Christian conservative family, and during the Bush years, we weren't very involved in politics. I mean, it was almost kind of a feeling, okay, we're safe now. We have a pretty good president. At least he's not going to take it downhill very fast. So we kind of let our guard down when it came to who we were electing in politics. But with President Obama, we definitely, when that election was going on in 2008, we definitely kept up on the politics, read a lot, watched Fox News, watched all kinds of different news sources, and I especially began to really, really care about making my voice heard even though I can't vote. And a lot of my friends didn't really care about politics. At the time, I was competing in sports in a public school level. I mean, it wasn't public school, but I was competing in public school sports. And none of my friends really cared about politics. And whenever I brought up the election in conversation, they really seemed to shun me. So
Same here.
It was about that time when Sorry?
Oh, I just said same here.
Yeah. About that time, something came over me. I was like, you know what? I'd heard about there being some type of homeschool debate league. So we looked into it, and it just so happened that when I came up with that idea to maybe get involved in homeschool debate, that was the last week to be able to join for that year's season. So I was able to join up for that year, and I started debate. And in my debate club and in this homeschool debate league named STOA, I was able to find all sorts of friends who had the exact same ideas as me, who thought the exact same way and weren't afraid about politics. In fact, in our spare time, we talk about politics and politicians and different news sources and elections and stuff that's happening right now. And I think the thing to remember is never be discouraged no matter what your friends say, because there's always going to be a group of people which you'll be able to find at some point who feel the same as you. I mean, Sam, I know you're writing for the High School Conservative. I don't know what you've done before that, but we all have a common interest when it comes to politics and our choice of conversation, do we not?
No, yeah, I mean, I'm honestly like a big political junkie, and so when I found you guys, because another thing on my background, folks, and I've brought this up before, but it's a good time to bring it up again, because this is one point that I want to make to the audience, and Braxton, you and I haven't had a lot of chance, so this is good for you too. I've been doing my show. I'm not a big blogger. Um, Writing's not my big forte. I mean, I'll write, but I don't enjoy it as much as I like talking. So when I started my talk radio show 4 years ago, my first talk show, the Whitfield Nation, there was practically no voice out there for conservative teenagers. I started it in March of 2008, which at that point we were still under the Bush administration. Twitter, Facebook, and believe it or not, the iPhone even had just come out in late 2007, and it was still early 2008. So at the time, social media still wasn't like being used all that much. So I thought I was the lone wolf conservative teenager. But I decided, okay, to hell with it. I'm going to stand up for conservative values because somebody has to, and even if I'm alone, I don't care. So over the past 4 years, I've been broadcasting, and I've had to change shows, and I started Next Gen Conservative uh, at the beginning of 2012. I have to say that this year has been the biggest year that I've personally made a big appearance. I've gotten to meet Hugh Hewitt and Glenn Beck. Hugh Hewitt is actually, he and I have personal contact with each other. And so, folks, I've been through the feeling of loss before with Barack Obama. And we must keep fighting. I still have that fighting spirit from 4 years ago. And I just feel so blessed to have friends like Braxton and Greg who are fighting with me now. And we're going to get through these next 4 years. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to get through it. And we can be the ones who make the difference.
I think we're going to be stronger because of it.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to talk to you about, maybe Braxton, if you can talk to me after the show, is would you have any interest in doing a radio show of your own?
Well, actually, that's something I wanted to bring up. Is this Tuesday at 4 o'clock, I'm going to be hosting a radio show off of the Young Conservative website. You'll be able to find the podcast there. It'll be at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, called The Hardcore Conservative, and you can go and listen to me there. It's my first time to actually do a radio show or a podcast of this nature. So it might be a freak show more than it is a radio talk show, but it's worth tuning in probably just to hear me talk.
Well, my audience is used to freak shows because as my assistant Trevor Johnson, who you've not met yet, and as Greg always teases me, and Luke Haskins too, we all tease each other that we're all freaks of our own. So it's a freak show here, but and people call us crazy, but people have called me crazy and people have called me insane. But to that, I always say, yeah, I'm crazy about this country, and I'm insanely in love with this country. So, any other topics you'd like to bring up?
Besides talking about conservative youth?
Yeah.
Well, I was reading on the news the other day, and I did a little bit of investigation. And have you heard about the Iranian jet that fired on one of our drones?
I did. Relating to Benghazi?
No, not related to Benghazi. We had a UAV, and it was unarmed, just a reconnaissance UAV, that was in international airspace, and an Iranian jet fired 2 missiles at it but missed. And this happened a week ago Thursday, so it was the Thursday before the election, and it was released the Thursday after the election. So they held back the information until after the election was over. And during their press conference at the Pentagon, they were asked, why did you hold back the information for a week until after the election? And they said, well, any information that has to do with reconnaissance or intelligence gathering cannot be released to the public unless authorized first by high-ranking officials. And it's interesting because those high-ranking officials are part of the Obama administration. So I think Just right after the election has already happened, we're seeing the fruition of what we can imagine for the next 4 years.
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's just it's insane. The other thing I want to get your opinion on, Greg and I were talking about this before the program, but is it just me, or does the timing of this whole Petraeus firing seem a little suspicious?
My personal opinion on it is, sure, it can seem a little suspicious, and who knows, it may even be. But this kind of thing happens in politics a lot, with politicians a lot. When you're having an affair, affairs happen all the time in politics. You can look through history. There's been hundreds of them. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's just an affair, but sure, there's the possibility of it being suspicious and something else is going on.
Right. I mean, it very well could be, but then again, and I get what you're saying with politics. I honestly don't think. I mean, here's the other thing. Before you knew me, and before Mitt Romney was the nominee for the president, I was a big Herman Cain supporter. I really supported his economic plan, his value plan, and he seemed to be just a candidate who was really motivated, and people really liked him. And yet he was the first person to get out of the election, one of the first, I believe, who actually had a fighting chance against Obama. And it was because he had the affair, and I think that the Obama administration used that against him because they knew he was a threat and they wanted to take him out early. I also tend to think that even if he did have an affair, I mean, let's take a look at historical examples like JFK and FDR and LBJ, and especially JFK though. JFK had multiple affairs, including one with the famous and very beautiful Marilyn Monroe, and yet I don't think it affected his job as president. So I think this whole notion of the president having affairs is a little bit ridiculous at times. I think as far as the Petraeus thing goes, it's unfortunate, and I mean, I just really don't know what to think of it.
Yeah, I mean, I was a huge Herman Cain supporter from the very beginning. I liked Herman Cain, so I think there were two options or two possibilities of what happened there. Either one, he did have an affair, and if that was the case, then he should have come out and talked about it ahead of time, so we would have known ahead of time and put it out on the table. The other possibility is that because he was such a threat, they did have to do something to eliminate him from the race. And, it's that kind of idea, that stereotype, that blacks cannot be conservatives, and that's absolutely impossible.
Yeah.
I know so many who are conservatives, stronger than me even. And Herman Cain was that kind of a person, and they just couldn't let that happen to them in a presidential race because supposedly, according to the liberals and Democratic Party, that kind of a person doesn't even exist.
Well, I mean, and it was interesting because back when Herman Cain was still in, I remember Janine Garofalo, the actress, the highly liberal actress. I'm assuming you know who she is, right?
60 seconds.
I have to look her up again.
Okay, she's some like really liberal actress and whatnot. But the point being is she went on to I think it was on Chris Matthews' show, or it was one of the shows. I don't even think the guy's on there anymore. And she basically stated that Herman Cain, that there's no way in hell that a woman or a black man could be a conservative because the Tea Party and the conservative movement is inherently racist. That's where they come from, and they show their own ignorance that way. I mean, it's really sickening.
Right. I think the only people who keep
10
racism
seconds.
an idea or something that still exists in our society are the people who keep bringing it up as arguments.
Yeah, I mean, the left's thinks that we're still inherently racist, and it's just really unfortunate, I think. And I wish it would stop. As far as the drone attack, what you said earlier, I think that this is just the beginning. I also, real quick on this topic too, I think it's unfortunate that all this stuff is coming out now. Um, and I mean, I hope Obama does better in this second term, but I'm highly pessimistic about it. But anyway, um, unless you have anything else you want to bring up, I'd like to wrap up this program. Any other comments?
Yeah, I mean, before any major legislation has been passed in his second term, we're already seeing stuff. We see that with Benghazi. We see it with the drone being fired on by Iran. And we can see it with President Obama's comments and remarks on the campaign trail about wanting to pass a assault rifle ban in the United States.
Right.
And I thought his rhetoric there was very interesting because he said those kind of guns are for soldiers to have, not for civilians. That's not what the Constitution means when it says we have the right to bear arms. And I was like, well, that's exactly what it means, because the whole reason the Founding Fathers put it in there is that we could fight the government if necessary to defend ourselves.
Right.
So we can already see. Yeah, we can already see before any legislation has been passed an idea of what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I pray for this nation every night, especially now because Obama's. I mean, here's the sad truth, folks. Obama's not beholden to anything now. So, he can basically try and do whatever he wants, and he doesn't have to be careful anymore about what he says or does. And I'm hoping that the conservative movement is strong enough to stand up and, if need be, I'm not at this point yet, but if stuff eventually goes way too out of hand, I will call for impeachment. So I hope to God that never happens. But anyway.
Yeah, I saw some tweets by some moderates, and I found them very interesting because they were all kind of singing the same song. They said, I'm not a conservative and I'm not a Romney person, but the idea of any president, Republican or Democrat, having a second term without the fear of having to get reelected again is scary enough for me to vote for Romney.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I'm definitely looking for your show, Braxton, and when is it?
Tuesday at 4.
4 o'clock. What time?
I may change it to 5:30 just to match up time-wise with Gregory's on Wednesday. So I'll see how that goes. I probably will bump it up to 5:30.
Central Time or what time
That's
zone?
Central Time.
Okay.
Actually, I'm not sure how the Blog Talk Radio website functions. I'm not sure if it's off of Eastern Time or not. But the status for the show I have set to 4 o'clock right now.
It functions on whatever time zone you have. So, and actually, I can teach you how to use that tonight. If you wouldn't mind Skyping me or something after the show. So.
Sure.
All right. Well, anyway, take care, Braxton, and I'm looking forward to hearing your show. So.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. God bless.
You too.
All right, folks, and with that, I would like to end today's program, folks. We have had a great show. Like I said, this war is not over yet. We lost the battle, but we have not lost the war. And it's imperative that we keep on fighting. We must. Keep your spirits high, folks. It's going to be a rough 4 years, but we will survive. And we've got plans. You heard Braxton, Greg, and I talking about Young Conservative TV. And we're excited for it. We really are. It's going to be an amazing time for conservatism. Don't let your spirits down. Keep fighting, and go donate to Next Gen Conservative, and go donate to Young Conservative TV. So, with that in mind, folks, I'm Sam Whitfield signing off. God bless you. God bless America. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week. So long.